My name is Courtney Balaker, and I teach the Screen Acting Lab here at JPCatholic University. I started off wanting to be a theater director, so I went to graduate school at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, and I loved directing off-Broadway theater, but I always wanted to make film, so we moved to Los Angeles. I started at a production company called Neo Art and Logic. We made a bunch of horror films and American Pie movies. But then eventually, I'm like, I don't want to make movies like this anymore. At this point, I'm not Catholic. I'm married to a Catholic. I was always God-fearing. And then I met my husband, Ted, and he would go to Mass every Sunday. And he's like, would you like to go with me? I'm like, sure. One year, my mother-in-law, Angie, said, would you like to come to the Sacred Heart Retreat in Alhambra? And I went on this silent retreat. It was like God and me met up for the first time in a long time. I went to the gift shop at the Sacred Heart Retreat and I got this notebook, and it was that beautiful passage of like, every time you thought I left you, I was there, and it was the footprints in the sand. I'm like, okay. I said to Ted, I think I found my home. So meanwhile, while I'm doing all this, cutting my teeth, getting all these producer credits, my husband Ted was producing at a think tank called Reason. He was getting kind of frustrated by not having more control over what he was making. So we decided to start our own production company called Korchula Productions. Our motto is making important ideas entertaining, and now we make movies and content that we feel really good about. The Coddling of the American Mind is a feature documentary that Ted directed and edited. It's based on a New York Times best-selling book of the same title, written by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. And they both came together to write an article for The Atlantic, basically about what was going on with Gen Z and how suicide rates and depression were just skyrocketing. So the book examines why. We have screened at over a dozen campuses. We had our LA premiere. We have been invited by Harvard, Princeton, Cornell. Our goal with it is not just to talk about how bad things are. It's like, these are solutions. And we profile them in the film because of the great work that Greg Lukianoff and John Haidt did in the book. Little Pink House is based on a true story about a woman named Suzette Kilo, and all she wanted was a house with a view of the water. Meanwhile, Pfizer Pharmaceutical, they were looking to expand their facilities. They needed more room. Well, Suzette said no. She fought all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and she lost. And Suzette was so brave. Suzette is a very dear friend of ours. We became very close to her and her sons. What I'm most proud of about that film is we played at the Provincetown International Film Festival in Massachusetts. And the week before Little Pink House played at that festival, I got an email from this guy named Mike, and he's like, hey, my dad and brothers and I own a bike rental shop here in Provincetown, and the city wants to kick us off of the property so that CVS can put a parking lot. Long story short, there was a city council vote literally 3 days after we screened. The vote comes back on Monday, and Mike and his family won. And he, in writing, said, we think that your film was largely responsible because it put a human face on this very sort of strange and boring, enigmatic thing called eminent domain abuse. And it was just a really beautiful experience, and it's one of the things I'm most proud of in my career.
An acting practicum is a senior project for the acting students. They get to explore one project that really shows their strengths as an actor. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to an acting practicum.